of Ukraine's southern region hit by Russian missiles. Earthquake hit New York City. You're watching World Today with me, Olivia Nicholas. Russia fired 5 missiles on Ukraine's southern city of Zaporizhia yesterday, killing at least 4 people, injuring 20 and damaging residential buildings and industrial facilities. The local prosecutor's office said a 9-year boy is among those uninjured, while 4 are in grave condition. Eyewitnesses said at least 3 apartment blocks, 10 private houses, shops and an unidentified industrial facility were damaged. At least 2 cars in the street were engulfed in flames. Ukraine's Air Force issued a ballistic missile raid alert for the region, part of which is occupied by Russia. Moscow has recently stepped up usage of ballistic missiles that are harder to intercept. Northeastern Kharkiv region was also under intense air attack in the afternoon, according to local media and regional officials. There was no immediate reports of casualties. Earlier, Russian officials accused Ukraine of attacking the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which is located southwest of the city of Zaporizhia and is occupied by Russian troops. The Russian state-run RIA news agency quoted the facility press service as saying Ukrainian military drones attacked the power plant but caused no damage to its critical infrastructure. In the past, each side in the 2-year conflict has accused the other side of shelling the plant, none of whose 6 reactors are operating. Massive rainfall has ruptured a dam in the Russian city of Osk, prompting hasty evacuations in the surrounding area. According to the city authorities, more than 4,000 houses and some 10,000 people are in the affected area near the border with Kazakhstan and at the risk of being flooded. According to the TASS news agency, local authorities had earlier already asked residents in several streets to evacuate. Rescues are currently working to repair the dam in the city of 220,000 residents. Russian media reported that local authorities had set up 6 evacuation points for residents. A state of emergency has been declared in the Orenburg region. The Emergencies Ministry said the ministry personnel had helped 3,500 people affected by flooding nationwide in recent days. Russia is regularly impacted by extreme weather events, which has been exacerbated by climate change. A 4.8 magnitude earthquake struck near New York City on Friday morning, shaking buildings up and down the East Coast and surprising residents in an area that rarely experiences notable seismic activity. The quake's epicenter was in Tewksbury in central New Jersey, about 64 kilometers west of New York City. No major damage was reported in New York. Engineering teams are inspecting roads and bridges. People in New York City said they felt a rumbling and shaking, with some thinking it was the subway.
We were in our hotel room and we felt this rumbling on the floor, and it felt like there was a subway going under us, but it was longer than when a train would go under, and I thought, is that an earthquake or not? And then we left and we came down to Bryant Park, and then we got the emergency alert. So our question is, why was it an hour later?
I was scared. I've never felt one before because I grew up in New York and we don't really have them often. So I thought it was a train personally, and then it just kept going.
President Joe Biden spoke with New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy about the earthquake, and the administration will provide assistance if needed. Flights were held at area airports in the aftermath of the earthquake but had resumed by 12:30 p.m. and according to the Federal Aviation Administration, residual delays were expected. Friday's tremor was the largest felt in the city since the 2011 5.8 magnitude earthquake in Virginia that prompted evacuation of City Hall and other buildings and caused damage in Washington. Winter storm conditions in California have yet again forced the closure of the state's iconic highway 1 near Big Sur after part of the world-famous stretch of road that runs along the Pacific collapsed into the ocean. Drone footage near Rocky Creek Bridge showed a lane of the highway partially collapsed with maintenance crews at the scene. The highway, about 150 miles south of San Francisco, was closed on Wednesday ahead of bad weather that moved in on Thursday. According to the Monterey County Sheriff's Office, part of the southbound lane of the highway collapsed and remained closed. Unusually high temperatures hit part of France ahead of a warmer than usual weekend. In the popular Three Valleys ski complex in the French Alps, harsh sunlight ate away at the snow, creating slushy conditions on the ground. Base station temperatures there were expected to come near to 30 degrees. One open-air thermometer on a ski lift at 1,850 meters above sea level posted a temperature of 18 degrees Celsius at midday. The first family burial of Kenya's doomsday cult victims took place on Friday in Malindi. 4 coffins lined up one next to another as relatives wept, saying their final goodbyes. Among them was Francis Wanje, a father and grandfather of 2 of the victims, who blamed both the cult leader Paul Mackenzie and the police for his family's tragedy. The bodies of more than 400 members of Mackenzie's Good News International Church were found and exhumed from the Shakahola forest in southeastern Kenya last year in one of the world's worst cult-related tragedies of recent decades. Only 35 bodies have been conclusively identified so far, adding to the anguish of hundreds of families waiting to lay their loved ones to rest. Still to come, Iceland PM announces resignation. Stay tuned. Icelandic Prime Minister Katrín Jakobsdóttir announced her resignation on Friday in order to run for president in the upcoming June elections. It was not immediately clear who would succeed her as Prime Minister, a job she has held since late 2017. Jakobsdóttir made the announcement in a video message.
Sjálf hafði ég ákveðið fyrir allnokkru síðan að gefa ekki kost á mér í næstu þingkosningum. En áfram brenn ég fyrir því að vinna samfélaginu okkar gagn og vil gera það áfram. Af þeim sökum hef ég ákveðið að beiðast lausnar sem forsætisráðherra Íslands og gefa kost á mér í komandi forsetakosningum.
Iceland will hold a vote on the 1st of June to elect its new head of state. The island nation of almost 400,000 people faces uncertainty after a recent volcanic eruption that triggered the indefinite evacuation of thousands, adding to pressures on an economy already facing high inflation and soaring interest rates. Still, Jakobsdóttir said she believed the government had made significant progress on the challenges and that the country was on a firmer footing than just a few months ago. Jakobsdóttir has been crucial in keeping together current coalition of her own left-green movement, the Pro-Business Independence Party and the centre-right Progressive Party. The government has been in power since 2017, providing unusual stability in a country that went to polls 5 times from 2007 to 2017, a period marked by political scandals and distrust of politicians following the 2008 financial crisis. Peruvian President Dina Boluarte said Friday the Rolex watches that put her in the crosshairs of corruption investigators had been lent to her by a friend and denied owning other luxury items as the scandal shakes a fragile government. Boluarte's remark came after she spent 5.5 hours giving a statement to public prosecutors in the affair dubbed Rolex Gate. Media investigation which prompted the probe against her revealed she had worn various Rolex watches to official events as Vice President and Minister of Development before taking over in 2022 from predecessor Pedro Castillo. Police raided Boliarte home and presidential office on 30th of March in search of the alleged collection, which was said to include at least 3 high-value Rolex watches according to photographs published by local media. Prosecutors had earlier said she would be required to present the undeclared luxury timepieces and explain their origin as part of the probe into illegal enrichment. The government hoped Boliarte, a statement to investigators, would put an end to a scandal that provoked 2 motions to impeach her, both defeated by the right-wing majority in Congress on Thursday. The governments of Colombia and Panama denied accusations by Human Rights Watch that they had not done enough to protect migrants crossing the lawless jungle between their countries and asked for international support in tackling the mounting crisis. Last year, more than 500,000 people braved the Darien Gap, where they faced perilous river crossings, wild animals and violent criminal gangs that extort, kidnap and abuse them. In a 110-page report, Human Rights Watch said Panama and Colombia were not doing enough to protect those crossing, investigate pervasive sexual abuse and look into those who have gone missing on the track. Panama's Foreign Minister Janina Tawane said his country had taken note of the report but would also like the efforts of both countries to be recognized. Colombia's Foreign Minister Gilberto Murillo echoed these comments, saying they cannot do it alone. According to the Panamanian government, a record 520,000 people crossed the jungle in 2023. The Panamanian government and international organizations have set up several reception centers for migrants where they receive basic care. Insect repellent has become a hot commodity in Argentina, which is besieged by dengue-carrying mosquitoes and facing shortages that have sparked supermarket brawls, rations and homemade concoctions. The outbreak in the middle of an economic crisis in a country with strict importation controls has led to severe shortage of mosquito repellents. Some businesses have opened dedicated WhatsApp channels to tell clients when they can get some in. Other impose rations of 3 products per person. With 129 deaths so far this year, Argentina has seen a tenfold increase compared to the same period last year. After facing criticism from the opposition for its absence amid the crisis, Libertarian President Javier Milei's government this week removed importation taxes on mosquito repellents. In the meantime, sprays and creams are selling for around $40 a piece rather than the usual $5, a painful sum for a population already dealing with annual inflation of 276%. A study has discovered that a majority of corporate executives across leading economies believe artificial intelligence will be a game changer for the industry, but admit their leadership team lacks the knowledge to understand AI's risk and rewards. Adecco, the world's biggest temporary staffing agency, and Oxford Economics conducted a survey to see how companies are preparing for a technology that is growing fast but also raising concerns about what it means for jobs. Around 2,000 CEOs, chief financial officers and other executives in companies across 9 countries were surveyed between October and December. The poll found that 61% believe AI is a game changer for the industry, with the figure rising to 82% in the tech sector and 51% among automakers. But the report found that 51% lack confidence in their leadership teams, AI skills and knowledge, the report found. The rise of generative AI is expected to transform an array of jobs, helping to simplify tasks, but it has also raised concerns that it could take away work done by humans. The survey showed that 41% of executives say they will employ fewer people within 5 years because of the technology. At the same time, 66% said they will recruit AI specialists externally, while 34% said they will train existing staff to fill the technological gap. in sports, Liverpool confident of winning Premier League title. Stay with us. Premier League leaders Liverpool face one of their toughest remaining fixtures tomorrow as they travel to face a wounded Manchester United side who will be desperate to stop their bitter rival title bandwagon at Old Trafford. Liverpool's somewhat nervy 3-1 victory over bottom club Sheffield United on Thursday means they remain masters of their own destiny with 8 games to play. They have 70 points, 2 more than Arsenal and 3 more than reigning champions Manchester City, who will be keeping a very watchful eye on events at Old Trafford.
That's obviously how it is in Premier League. So to tell me a different race, yeah, but we became champion and it was obviously decided pretty early. Otherwise, probably City as well, here or there. But most of the time were tight races, and it looks like a tight race. Yeah. And so if it's a tight race, then the best place you can be is in it. And we are in it, so that's cool, that's good. And now let's keep fighting.
United have struggled this season and Erik ten Hag's future is uncertain, but they have been a thorn in Liverpool's side, drawing away in the league and claiming a 4-3 win in an unforgettable FA Cup quarter-final to end the Anfield side hopes of an unprecedented quadruple. Aymeric Laporte scored a late winner as Al Nassr snatched a 1-0 victory away to Dengue in the Saudi Pro League. Coach Luis Castro decided to enter the game with a real lack of firepower and almost dashed the title hopes against Al Hilal, but individual brilliance from starman Cristiano Ronaldo kicked the game into life and Laporte's header gave them the 3 points. Castro decided to bench Ronaldo for the clash after the Portuguese forward scored 2 back-to-back hat-tricks against Abha and Altai. Sadio Mane was also benched for the clash with an eye on the upcoming Saudi Super Cup semi-final against Al Hilal. Ronaldo's introduction in the second half kicked the attack into life and a late goal by Laporte gave them the 3 points on the night. Laporte slotted the ball home with a header from a corner in the first minute of stoppage time as Al Nassr clinched a 4th straight league win. Second place Al Nassr sit on 65 points after 27 games, 12 behind runaway leaders Al Hilal. Meanwhile, runaway leaders Al Hilal stretched their world record winning streak to 32 matches with a 4-1 win away to Al Khalij in the Saudi Pro League on Friday. Saleh Al Shehri put the visitors ahead inside 7 minutes, latching onto a wayward pass from goalkeeper Ibrahim Sahic before Mohammad Sharif level matters moments later. Strikes just before and half-time from former Barcelona and Zenit St. Petersburg forward Malcolm put Al Hilal 3-1 up before an Abdullah Al-Hamdan penalty deep into stoppage time sealed the 3 points. The record-extending win see Al Hilal climb to 77 points, 12 clear of the nearest challengers Al Nassr. Al Hilal will now face off against Al Nassr in the Saudi Super Cup on the 8th of April. A win would see them reach the final against either Al Ittihad or Al Wihda. In tennis, top seeds Casper Ruud and Hubert Hurkacz booked their spots in the Australian Open semi-finals on Friday following respective straight sets victories. Ruud, who has won 9 of his 10 tour level titles on clay, has now reached 25 tour level semi-finals on the surface. Ruud claimed a 6-3-6-2 win over Hungary's Martin Vuskovic with the Norwegian defending champions next set to face Christian Garin of Chile, who saw off home favourite Nuno Borges 6-2-7-6. The top seed is chasing his first title since last year when he defeated Miomir Kecmanovic in the Estoril Championship match. In a dominant performance against Vuskovic, he won 82% of his first serve points according to Infosys ATP stats to triumph after 68 minutes. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, Hurkacz beat qualifier Pablo Lamas Ruiz 7-6-6-4, with the pole setting up a clash against another Spaniard in Pedro Martinez, who ousted French veteran and lucky loser Richard Gasquet 6-4, 6-4. The number 10 player saved all 8 break points he faced to advance after 1 hour and 46 minutes. Hurkacz has now reached 20 tour level semi-finals. He is the first pole to advance to the last 4 at a tour level clay court event since Lukas Kubot in Stuttgart in 2011. Max Verstappen went fastest on Friday in the first practice for the Japanese Grand Prix, with the second session badly affected by rain. Triple world champion Verstappen, who failed to finish the race in Australia a fortnight ago, edged Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez in dry conditions in the first session in Suzuka. But it was a different story later in the day when only 5 drivers recorded a time lap in on-off showers, with McLaren's Oscar Piastri going quickest ahead of Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton. Verstappen and Perez did not come out for the second practice. They were among several drivers who stayed in the garage as the teams tried to preserve their tyres in the tricky conditions. Verstappen won the first 2 Grand Prix of the season, but the Dutchman retired from a race for the first time in 2 years in Melbourne after a brake issue. Normal service resumed in the first practice in a session that was red flagged for around 10 minutes after Williams driver Logan Sargent crashed into a wall of tyres. Verstappen clocked a fastest lap of 1 minute 30.056 seconds to 0.181 second quicker than Perez. Ferrari's Carlos Sainz, who won in Australia after returning from appendicitis surgery, was third fastest at 1 minute 30.269 seconds. George Russell was fourth quickest, followed by Mercedes teammate Lewis Hamilton, with Ferrari's Charles Leclerc coming home in sixth. Fabio Quartararo will remain on the Yamaha factory bike until 2026 after the former MotoGP champion signed a 2-year contract extension. This was announced by the Japanese manufacturer yesterday. Quartararo won the MotoGP title with Yamaha in 2021 after making the step up to the factory team that year when he replaced Valentino Rossi. However, the 24-year-old has since struggled as Ducati dominated the Premier class with a superior bike. In 2022, Frenchman Quartararo threw away a 91-point lead in the championship to concede the title to Ducati's Francesco Bagnaia. Last year, the Yamaha rider managed only 3 podiums, finished a lowly 10th in the championship standings. There was speculation that Quartararo would look for a switch with his contract set to expire at the end of the 2024 season, as he made his frustration with the bike public several times, but he has now extended his stay with Yamaha. Dolls to enthusiastic Pokemon hunters, next in your weekly update stories. Brussels is looking to protect 2 of its historical traditions, rod puppetry and a 1,680 square meter flower carpet rolled out every second year in front of the Belgian capital City Hall by granting them the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage status. Following the filings, UNESCO designations might follow in December 2025. The rod puppetry tradition originates from traveling carnival theaters in the Renaissance and was widely popular during the 19th century. Nowadays, puppeteers concealed behind a screen bring puppets to life during shows by pulling their rods.
What is very typical of our theater is that it was meant for the working class, so people who couldn't read nor write, so they would go to such theaters to see what was happening in big theaters or for instance, the opera. That's why we have some opera in our repertoire, and that makes it unique. It's meant for adults, basically. So it's a way of education somehow. It's a way of making culture accessible to everyone. That's what's very typical of Brussels road puppets.
Just a stone's throw away from the theatre tune is the city's historic main square or Grand Place, the setting of the Biennale flower carpet tradition that attracts some 200,000 spectators each time. Brussels laid its first flower carpet, a center display that tracks its origin to Mediterranean countries in the 14th century, some 50 years ago. The next one is due in August with around 500,000 begonias or dahlias for the design. Tucked away in Rabat's Medina is an unusual place, a display of dolls of the world. This exhibition brings together almost 2,500 dolls from 93 countries in 5 continents. Dressed in faux costumes from different eras, they represent a part of the tradition of their countries of origin.
On a des poupées costumées. Notre intérêt, c'est ça. Et les poupées costumées, pourquoi? Parce qu'ils nous montrent la diversité culturelle du monde. Et c'est cette diversité, montrer cette diversité, c'est ce qui nous motive le plus.
En fait, j'ai rencontré le fondateur de cette exposition lors d'une galerie d'art sur la Médina de Rabat. Il m'a proposé de venir visiter. Et franchement, je trouve l'idée très, très originale. En fait, parce qu'il y a une collection de poupées diversifiées. T'as des poupées un peu partout dans le monde. Et ça, on ne le voit pas souvent au Maroc. Même l'idée de musée, elle est exceptionnelle parce qu'on ne trouve pas des choses pareilles au Maroc, surtout sur la Médina de Rabat.
A book bound in human skin dating back to 1682, described as a unicorn in the rare books market, was featured at the Antiquarian Booksellers Association of America's New York International Antiquarian Book Fair. Lux Mantis bookseller Ian Khan revealed the intriguing history of the book that is now on sale for $45,000.
So this was bound in 1682 by a medical student who was studying medicine in Paris. He was a Spaniard and didn't know anyone, so he was going to theater. He went to see a play called Liberon, which he liked so much he bought a copy in sheets.
The medical student Jacopo X later found the actress from the play on his autopsy table. He decided to bind the book in a section of her skin to prevent her from being lost forever in a mass grave. The book was passed down through the family of Jacopo X and eventually came into Khan's possession from current owner Ricardo X.
It actually came to me with a note which read, "Dear Mr. Khan, my family has had a book bound in human skin since my ancestors bound it in 1682. We've decided that it should come to market and we're told we should contact you," which I have to admit was probably the best email I've ever received in my life. I don't expect it to be topped.
The 64th edition of the Abba Niav will be held at the Park Avenue Armory in New York from the 4th to the 7th of April, coinciding with the 75th anniversary of the Antiquarian Booksellers Association of America. That ends the bulletin this afternoon, wrapping up with a recap of our top story today. At least 4 killed after Ukraine's southern region hit by Russian missiles. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Salaran Berita RTM. Ahead of the Raya's festive season, we would like to remind road users to observe the time travel advisory and have a safe trip back home. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I am Olivia Nicholas. Stay tuned to TV2.